Hi, good afternoon. My name is Maher Lewis, and today we're going to talk about the following. So don't get frustrated. It does work. It's very dynamic and it's very useful. So I'm going to show you to you right now. Enjoy.
Bear with me a moment. You can just click on that desktop icon in the resources. Okay. Seems to have locked up on me. So maybe I need to kick it over to Dan first, if you don't mind, Dan. What happened? I think my machine just locked up on me. It looks like I lost internet connection. So, bear with us a moment here. I'm going to go to sharing. Let's pick the app. Yeah, and Anthony, if that's the case, you can always go back to your initial browser and click that re-enter meeting button to refresh your session. Will do, thank you. So, sorry about that. We'll kick it over to Dan instead.
So that was an easy way of getting out of what you were going to show, huh, Anthony?
Yeah, it's all my master plan here.
All right. So just a couple things. We're going to cover a couple things just to get us started here. These are just little things I just wanted to point out. The first one is, again, these are mostly in 2007, but this has come up a few times on some large drawings that I've seen recently. And what we're looking at here on the screen, can you see that, Anthony? Yeah. Okay.
That's coming up.
So here we just have a simple case here with a structure. And I'm going to edit the structure style in here. And there's a couple options in here on, so I'm looking at the, wow, dancing around.
Yeah. I think our connection's starting to go down.
Okay. So there's three options here: display as solid, display as boundary, and display as block. And when you're working in Civil 3D, I would highly encourage you to use the display as boundary option. So the first option is a solid. It's actually an actual three-dimensional body, and the boundary will be the silhouette of the structure. And this is going to be it's going to give you higher performance, it's going to give you less memory usage, and overall better performance if you use that option with structures. And if you'll see this if you start to deal with a drawing that has 50 or more structures in the drawing. I would definitely encourage you to use that option when modeling the structures in the profiles. So I'm going to get out of there. I'm going to open up another drawing, and so again, we're just trying to cover just a few things. We'll just be jumping around a little bit. Let's look at pipe labels here. So this has come up several times where, again, this is a pipe case here, and what we're looking at is a label. So here's a structure down in here, and the label is anchored to the top of the graph, and within the label is the structure number. And as we add new ones, we want to anchor these across the top of the graph. So this has come up a few times on how to do this, and I just want to quickly just show how you can set this up. And if you want any of these drawings, feel free to send me an email, daniel.sobrick@AutoDesk, and I can send you the styles to do these. But what I'm going to do is expand. Let's go into the settings. I'm going to expand down to the structure and label styles, and I'm going to go over here a little bit. And I have a style here called structure anchored to the graph. Okay, so this is a structure label style where it's anchored to the graph. And it's relatively simple in that, really refreshing weird. Dan, can you see that?
Yeah,
okay.
In a second.
Yeah.
I think we might be.
Okay, so I'm going to try and minimize the amount of moving that I do here.
Yep.
So there's two components in here. There's a line component, and there's a component that has the structure text in it. So if I look at the structure text, we've just got the name in here, and it's anchored to the structure dimension. We'll cover that in a second. This is basically an anchor point for the label. And if I switch to the line is anchored. Let's see here to label location. So it's the start of it, and it's anchored to the structured text. So this just means that the line is anchored to that text that we just looked at. So that's all there is to it. So it's pretty simple to set this up. The key thing is I'm going to jump now to the settings, and when we actually start creating these labels, there's a couple settings that now are important. I'm going to expand the network. Here's our pipe network node in the settings. So now these are all commands in here, so we can establish some settings in here, and I'm going to look at the network part profile label settings. So these are settings that now apply to the placement of that label. So you'll notice in here, okay, this first one here, dimension anchor for pipe is graph top. So this means we're going to anchor it to the graph top, and the structure label placement at the top of the structure. So you can see here we're anchoring to the top of the structure. Oops, I was on the wrong one here. Dimension anchor for structure is graph view top and at the top of the structure. So when we place these labels, they're going to be placed anchored to the top of the graph and to the top of the structure. And every new one that I add, that's what's going to happen. So again, a pretty simple label style, but it combines both some elements of the label style as well as some of the settings when you add those. And you can then come into the label properties if you need to change anything. So you can see here, I've got an anchor to the top. We could change this spacing. Let's just change this to say -1 inch. So what I'm doing is changing how this is anchored to the graph top, and we should see that label. So now we're down 1 inch from the top of the graph. So pretty simple label style, but it's pretty effective for just getting the structures numbered across the top of your graph. Okay, I'm going to close this drawing. Okay. Let's look at, here's something that comes up quite often, particularly with people getting started with Civil 3D. What we're looking at here is a profile, a couple profiles in here, or here's a profile view with a couple profiles. And you'll notice in here, we're labeling the grade break. So if I pan over here, we've got a vertical curve going on here. We've got a sag curve. Okay. Okay, so we've got a sag curve in here. And then we've got some grade breaks in here. And you'll notice these are being labeled. But if I zoom in here a little bit, you'll see that we're not getting a label on this grade break here. And so if you were to, run into this situation and you want to diagnose the problem, again, all the objects, you want to go to the objects to actually interrogate the label. So I'm going to select this profile, right-click, and we'll say Edit Labels.
That character is who's going to be the good cop and who's going to be the bad cop.
So that's so we're going to come in and edit those labels. So this is all the labels that are part of this. And one thing that's a little misleading about this dialog is I can scroll over to the right here and get more information. So how things are anchored, how far above and below the graph. And you'll notice here there's a weeding factor here. So this is useful if you want to weed out if you have, like, say, an existing ground profile and you're ending up with hundreds of grade break labels. You can weed out labels at a particular interval. So I'm just going to set this to 0, and now you'll notice we get a grade break label there. So the message here is anytime you have questions about labeling or where to go, you just start out going to the object and then working down from there to the particular label.
And it can be done. So He doesn't know, but I'm telling you right now. Okay? Anyways, that concludes this video. Thank you for watching.